Morning, everyone. All right, let's pray. Lord, I need you. Let your word shine forth. Let it show us who you are. Let it activate us. Let it move us to risky actions of love, like Esther's. In your name, amen. We've been in the book of Esther for about 3 weeks now. And last week we encountered a character named Haman, who is the enemy of the Jews. And through his cunning and deceit, he had manipulated this great king of the greatest empire the world had ever seen into publishing a decree that every single Jew, young and old, women and children, would be killed in one day. And last week we traced the characters of Mordecai and Haman and Xerxes. And all these actions seem to have just catapulted the whole kingdom into a trajectory that it seems unstoppable, seems bound to destroy God's people. It feels like it's too late to course correct. The bomb has been dropped. The missile's been launched. And regular people just stand helplessly watching. What could possibly stop this irreversible decree? And maybe you've surveyed the characters in your own life, and you think similarly, you have this fatalistic despair, this inevitability that it's just going to work out this way. You see family members walking away from God just one bad choice at a time, and you're just like, it's not going to work out. Marriages falling apart one seam at a time. World tensions escalating, and perhaps you sometimes feel your own heart hardening, and it feels like this inevitable path. And you do the math, and nothing short of a miracle will seem to fix or course correct this. Like Haman and the king sitting down to drink, they were confident in their plans' success. Sometimes we sit down to drink, despairing, confident that the world is doomed. But neither us nor Haman have accounted for Yahweh, our God. What might he do? Let's just recall the idea of providence that we've been studying, this theme that runs throughout Esther. This is the subtle way that God directs and governs all good things for his purpose. In Esther, there's no miracles. There's no sudden overriding of natural laws. But this providence is actually far more amazing than miracles. It's one thing to just override nature's order. It's another to accomplish them without overriding any natural laws. How does God manage the billions of human choices and still accomplish exactly what he wants? And he does. This is not fate. This is not whatever will be, will be. Fate has no direction, no objectives. God does. And when we study Esther, what we'll see slowly blooming is a glorious turnabout. Last week we ended with the question, what might God be doing in this hour of darkness where darkness is just reigning? Where's his providence here? Today we're going to ask the question, what does God want me doing in the hour where darkness reigns? How do I fit in his providence? So let's read Esther 4 together. It's page 342 in your chair Bible, or maybe 343, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. If you don't have a Bible, feel free to take one of these. It's this church's gift to you. Verse 1. When Mordecai learned all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, went out into the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. But he only went as far as the king's gate, because no one clothed in sackcloth was allowed to enter it. And in every province to which the edict and the order of the king came, There was great mourning among the Jews, fasting, weeping, and wailing. Many lay down in sackcloth and ashes. When Esther's eunuchs and female attendants came and told her about Mordecai, she was in great distress. She sent clothes for him to put on instead of the sackcloth, but he would not accept them. We enter a distressing scene. Have you ever just been on your way to the grocery store, minding your own business, and a disturbance takes place? I know I have. I was in the 15 items and below line, and you can already tell where this story's going. And a woman behind me was unloading perhaps 20 to 25 items. And the man behind her just said, "That doesn't look like 15 items." And man, in that moment, everything slowed down. The cashier slowed down, eyes went wide. What's gonna happen? Are we gonna see a fist fight? And she defensively was like, "Well, okay, do you want me to move to another line? Her items are all there on the belt." And he said, "Yeah, I would." This was a busy day. I mean, 5, 6 people deep, and we think we were the shortest line. But man, something in that moment changed. This was an awkward moment. AirPods came out. Eyes crossed. I mean, everyone stopped what they were doing, like, what's going to happen? And she left, and, we were all trying to figure out, should we clap for this guy, or do we chide him for his impatience? I don't know, but it was an awkward moment. Think of what it would be like for Mordecai's co-workers as he arrives not dressed in his business suit, but dressed in sackcloth. Think about that scuffle at the gate as he's trying to get in, and they say, "You're not allowed in here. You can't approach the gate in these clothes." And imagine what the officials must have thought as they're working to copy down laws or whatever they do inside the gate, and their former co-workers outside wailing, loud crying, punctuated by louder cries of, "God, why? Why? Ah!" It was awkward. It was awkward. Imagine you're one of Esther's attendants, and you're walking in and you hear something. What is that noise? And one of the, people there says, "Oh, it's Mordecai. He's been at it all morning." Mordecai? Esther's Mordecai? You run back and tell her, "Hey, this is what's going on at the gate." Mordecai would have made a scene even if he wasn't trying to. Wet-faced, gray, ash smeared over his face, ugly looking. And this awkward moment is repeated 1,000 times over throughout the whole empire. Many were laying down in sackcloth and ashes. Imagine the family walk to the market. "Mommy, is that man okay?" "Just ignore him, sweetheart." It must have been awkward. But dark-shaped people writhing in the dust are hard to ignore. This was not just one day of this. This was multiple days. There's no mention of God in this story, but we know that for the Jews, fasting and sackcloth and mourning would not have just been for the eyes of passerbys, but it would have been for the eyes of God, who might see and have mercy. And prayers would no doubt have accompanied this visceral display of anguish. So when Esther hears about this, she's distressed, but she has no idea why. She's oblivious to the cause. Her distress is for Mordecai. Is he going to lose his job? I probably helped him get that job, and now he's blowing it. What if they find out he's connected with me? How am I going to look? So she rushes to solve the problem, to get close to him. But Mordecai refused to be comforted. And she still doesn't know why. And what follows is this exchange that is separated by distance. It's like texting almost. You got this scene where Mordecai, if he wanted to, could have got changed, walked up to the harem's courtyard and got information like he did every day before. But because he refused to be comforted, now a mediator's needed. So Esther sends a messenger, Hathach. Let's continue in verse 5. Esther summoned Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs assigned to attend her, and ordered him to find out what this was and why this was. So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the open square, and Mordecai told him everything that had happened, including the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Last week we found out that was 10,000 talents, an enormous sum of money. He also gave him a copy of the text of the edict for their annihilation, which had been published in Susa, to show it to Esther and to explain it to her. And he told Hathach to instruct her, go into the king's presence, beg for mercy, and plead with him for your people. Hathach went back and reported to Esther what Mordecai had said. And she told Hathach to say to Mordecai, all the king's officials and the people of the provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, there's but one law, that they be put to death, unless the king extends the golden scepter and spares their lives. But 30 days have passed since I was called to go to the king. Though Esther is queen, she doesn't seem to know a lot about the laws being written or the decisions of power. It doesn't seem that she was even aware this decree was sent. The fact that Mordecai feels the need to explain this means she probably wasn't very versed in politics. But she does have access to the king. Maybe we can stop this crazy train. Maybe we can stop it if Esther just talks to the king. Only one problem. She's not allowed to go. She's not allowed by law to approach the king. To do so means death. And the only exception is if this king shows mercy. Xerxes? Show mercy? Didn't work out for Vashti. Remember, Esther was chosen for her beauty and looks and charm, and it seems that everything is banking on that, but that didn't help Vashti. And it's been 30 days since she last saw the king. It's been 5 years since she was crowned queen. The novelty has worn off. Esther has been somewhat shelved. She's queen, but she's part of a harem. And believe me, this king with this power probably wasn't sleeping alone those 30 days. Esther's out of favor right now. What can she possibly do? What will Esther do in this hour where darkness reigns? Well, Mordecai's response is threefold, and it is absolute gold. And so we're going to break it down. First, verse 12. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer. Don't think that because you're in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. If you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your family will perish. And who knows but that you've come to your royal position for such a time as this. This is the climax of the chapter, the center of the dialogue, the axon on which the whole story turns. The wall of problems has arisen very high. All of God's people in the largest kingdom of earth are under threat and at stake. And it feels like all the power is with wicked people like Haman or impulsive brats like Xerxes. To go to this king, it's a fool's errand. What can Mordecai say to persuade her? First, this is your fight too. Don't think because you're in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. Everywhere there's been this outcry, wherever the decree goes, of sorrow and mourning, but we don't get that from Esther. She seems concerned for her life. She seems fearful. And it's not surprising. Much of her life has been out of her control. I mean, she was taken to the palace, advanced by Haggai, made queen. She hasn't had a lot of choices. It's been a lot of self-preservation. And now you want me to put it all on the line with this king? What can I really do? What can I really accomplish? Is it worth the risk? Mordecai, sensing this, says, don't think just because you have power and a position that you're going to escape. You're a Jew first. Everything else is second. This is your fight too. You are a Christian first. Everything else second. A missionary named Brother Andrew went on missionary work to China to deliver Bibles under Operation Pearl. He was surprised that when he met some of the pastors there, they said that every missionary they had met was an undercover spy for America. And they didn't trust him. And as he was thinking about this, he wondered, in the West, many of us have seen allegiance to our nation and allegiance to God as not crossing paths. But for people in China, it was an everyday experience. And he wondered what unity was missed out on because those Christians in the West had not considered themselves Christian first and everything else second. Don't think to yourself because you're in America that you'll escape the call in Acts that we must go through hardships to enter the kingdom of heaven. Moses knew this. In Hebrews 11, by faith, Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than to enjoy the fleeting pleasures of sin. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as greater value than all the treasures of Egypt. Why? How? Because he was looking forward to the reward. There will come many times in your life where it will be easier to be silent than to stand up for your brother Christian or your sister Christian. When what is right will mean speaking up and sharing in their disgrace. Esther thinks she might have a chance to escape. Mordecai says, don't think you'll escape. This is your fight too. Skipping ahead a bit, Esther does respond to this. Verse 15, go, gather all the Jews in Susa and fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. And I, in my attendance, will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. This is that moment when Esther has decided to enter into her people's suffering. She does it by fasting. She brings in all the Jews in Susa into her mission. Prayer is not explicitly mentioned, but it's implied when she says, fast for me. Fast for me. Have you ever fasted for someone else? I've barely fasted for myself. But what a picture of love. Showing a friend that their suffering is your fight too. When God's people are under threat, it's your fight too. Second, Mordecai says, God will be sovereign and show his providence with or without you. Verse 14, if you remain silent at this time, the world will fall apart? No. if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will come from somewhere else. But you and your father's family will perish. This is worth meditating on. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Mordecai, in one fell swoop, has declared his unwavering faith that God is going to hold on to his promises. And yet, he compels Esther into action. If you don't do something, you're dead. How can he say these at the same time? How can he have this faith that relief and deliverance will come from somewhere? Is it all on Esther's shoulders? No. It's not all about us. Mordecai's confidence comes from verse after verse where God promises to care for his people. Like Isaiah 46:3. Listen to me, you descendants of Jacob, all the remnant of the people of Israel, you who I have upheld since your birth and have carried since you were born. Even to old age and gray hairs, I am he who will sustain you. I have made you. I will carry you. I will sustain you and I will rescue you. Or Samuel 12:22. For the sake of his great name, the Lord will not reject his people. Because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. Or Zechariah 2:8. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Whoever touches you touches the apple of my eye. Don't mess with God's people. You don't want to poke God in the eye. It's not going to go well for you. He is an avenging God. He sees and he acts. But strangely enough, as Mordecai peers into the future, he sees a future where Esther's family is destroyed before this deliverance takes place. We've got to get this. This is God's sovereignty and our will side by side in harmony. There is an action you should take. And no, it doesn't rely all on you. God's on the move. He's got a plan. The question is, are you on board? Are you going to be a part of it? It's going to happen with or without you. What a weight of burden has been released. And yet, we got to do something. Esther's got to do something. The future of God's people does not rest with Esther, but it appears that he has placed her in this spot, at this time, at this moment, for this very purpose. This is our God. It's actually really exciting. This is who he is. He wants to bring you in. And that's point 3. God has a place for you in his plans. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Who knows? What a beautiful, humble line. I love this. Maybe that's the reason you're here. Maybe God gave you this authority, your beauty, this position, so you could act now. He can do it without you. But since he has placed a bow in your hand, fitted the arrow to the string, and put the target right in front of you, won't you shoot? Maybe you're in Brunswick at this time, with this health, with these families, with this spare time, with these friends, to be used for God. This is not fatalism. Everything happens for a reason. Remember, God doesn't need you. It's not whatever will be, will be. He can do it with you. He can do it without you. But he delights to use you. Think about the Bible and how many times God's using other people. He's sending prophets to speak, angels as messengers, kings to rule, judges to save. This is what he does. He loves it. He wants to use you. He prepares you. Think of Isaiah. who's shown God's glory and says, woe is me, I'm a sinner. And he takes a coal from the altar where his sins are forgiven, touches his lips and said, you're clean. And then he poses this question to the heavenly court. Whom shall I send? Who's going to go for us? Isaiah's looking around. The mighty angels. I'll go. You've just prepared me. You've cleansed me. You've given me a mouth to speak. You've shown me your glory. I'll go. That's what he does. What an exciting God to serve. Ephesians 4:7-8 says, to each one of us, to each one of you, God has given grace as Christ apportioned it. This is why it says, when he ascended on high, he took many captives, even from the rebellious, and gave gifts to his people. It's a little confusing because he's merging Psalm 68 with what he knows Jesus has done at his ascension. Jesus is rising from his ascension and bringing with him the captives he set free. And he's giving each one of them grace. And it says he gave gifts to his people. The gifts God's giving to his people are his people. It says that 3 verses later. And he gave the teachers, the prophets, the apostles, the evangelists. And he goes on and on. This is what he's giving to his people. You. God's preparing you to do and go and act, just like he did Esther. Each of you has been positioned and placed, given various amounts of grace and gifting, even your troubles, even your difficulties. He's given to you for a reason, to help his people. What a gift you could be to God's people. And I've seen so many of you be gifts to my family and others. Thank you. So in the last few minutes, we're going to spend some time meditating on this and just talking with God about it. On the floor or in front of your seat back there is a note card and a pen. And I encourage you just to write these 3 words on it. Time, talent, and treasure. I want you to think about these categories and how they might be used by God for such a time as this. Now, this week, this month, this year, this season. Time. God's given you time. He's given you this unique season. It won't last forever. Seasons change. What does God want you doing right now in this season? What risk-taking, gutsy things might he want you doing for his kingdom? God has given you talent, unique abilities. For Esther, it was her beauty. For you, it might be intelligence or your observance or your thoughtfulness or your patience. How can God use these abilities to act and bless his people? Your treasure. God's given you a position. Maybe it's authority at work or in the home. Perhaps it's influence among your friends. Money, possessions, maybe a second car, a large house. How can you use these to bless others? Just take this time, take a few minutes, and just jot some notes down. And I encourage you guys, talk to someone else about this. Esther didn't see it. Mordecai had to tell her, you're here, right here for this reason. Maybe. You can do that, right? Maybe. Maybe God has you here for this reason. Lord God in heaven, thank you for giving us each unique grace and gifts. Sometimes troubles, disabilities, sicknesses, you've allowed all these things to serve your people. God, I ask that we would be brave like Esther and have her kind of faith that says, I'm going. Whether I die or not, whether it's hard or not, whether it's difficult or not, whether it's risky or not, even if it's against the law, I see it and I'm going. Help us to be on board with your plan, God. Please help us not to waste our hours or our days. Use us, Father. Thank you that you delight in this. No one's left out. Not a single person has not been given grace and gifting and placement. This is you. This is the kind of God you are. Thank you. Amen.
Stand and worship with us.